Napoleon Bonaparte, perhaps one of Europe's best commanders throughout history, once said that an army marches on its stomach. While the current battlefield is a far cry from the battlefields of the Napoleonic age, logistics are still incredibly important in order to engage in a conflict. I'm Tuomas, a former officer in the Finnish Defence Forces, and today we'll take a look at Europe's logistical capacity when it comes to rail, airlift, naval and road. And if there's time, we'll start looking at how Europe is currently innovating some of the most technologically advanced military equipment on the planet. For the past 5 decades, airlift capacity has been a critical component for any expeditionary force aiming to project military power globally. The United States leads the field in this domain, a position that brings distinct advantages, but in a sense it is also quite natural. The geographical positioning of the US, far removed from most conflict zones, necessitates a robust capability to transport military forces globally to defend its interests. In contrast, while countries like France, Great Britain, the Netherlands, Spain, and Portugal maintain global interests due to their overseas territories, the majority of mainland Europe has less need for the extensive tactical airlift capacity characteristic of the US. Europe, potentially the most well-connected area in the world after only Japan, boasts extensive rail and road networks that link even its outliers like Norway, Great Britain, and Sweden. This connectivity reduces the reliance on airlift capabilities for responding to potential threats, such as a potential invasion from Russia, making it a less demanding operation compared to conflicts like those in Afghanistan or Iraq. European nations would not need to extensively airlift assets to the eastern border nations due to having ample opportunities to transport assets via rail, road, and navy. When it comes to heavy airlift capacity, in which I'll include the C-130 Hercules, Europe has around 220 aircraft in service. Remove the 76 or so Hercules and Super Hercules, which is considered on the lighter end, and Europe is left with 144 aircraft which can carry above 30 tons. Compared to the US, who has 227 C-17 Globemasters and 52 C-5M Super Galaxies, that is a considerable amount less. On a global scale, Europe still likely has the second largest airlift capacity in the world. On the list of European operators of American-made heavy transport aircraft are the UK with its 8 Globemasters, which set them back around 200 million per aircraft. Meanwhile, plenty of European nations have bought the newer J variant of the Hercules, with among others Denmark operating 4, France operating another 4, Germany 6, Italy 20, and Norway another 4. Over the last 20 or so years, these aircraft have cost European nations at least 100 million each for the transport variant, and much more for the tanker variant, meaning that if you include the UK's Globemasters in this, at least 5 billion euros have gone into the American economy from heavy transport aircraft. And that is only the current operators, and not the many nations who have since stopped using them. In reality, Europe and other nations have developed some very credible alternatives, which are now gaining recognition. The Airbus Atlas, for instance, is swiftly becoming the preferred heavy-lift aircraft across Europe. Despite its challenging beginnings, marked by issues such as gear malfunctions, difficulties with aerial refueling of helicopters due to spoiler interference, and software glitches that led to a crash, the Atlas has since earned high regard within many air forces. It is currently operated by 10 nations, with 7 of those being in Europe, and it can carry 37 tons or the equivalent of 2 Caesar artillery pieces, along with rounds and parts. What is good about the Atlas program is that it is a truly European cooperation program. Parts are made in factories ranging from the UK to Spain, Germany, Belgium, Netherlands, and France. And in buying one of them, a European nation adds to the economy and expertise within the continent. A new A400M will set you back around 150 million for the transport version, and slightly more for the tanker variant. While it can carry less than its largest competitor, the Globemaster III, it is cheaper per ton carried and has an extended range over the American competition. Secondly, the Embraer C390 Millennium, a product of Brazil, has recently achieved considerable success. Despite its Brazilian origin, the C390 heavily incorporates European expertise, featuring a Swiss engine, a British flight control system, a Portuguese fuselage, and a Czech-made tail. Moreover, all European orders for the aircraft are assembled by the Portuguese company Dogma, positioning it as a strong alternative to American models and highlighting its international collaborative success. It is currently operated by Hungary and Portugal in Europe, while Austria, the Netherlands, Slovakia, the Czech Republic and Sweden have placed orders which will begin delivery this and next year. When it comes to cost, it comes in just below the Atlas, at around 130 million for the transport variant, and it can carry 26 tons, so 10 tons less than the Atlas. Interestingly, Boeing and Embraer were due to merge in 2020, but due to Boeing's financial struggles from their civil aviation taking a real kicking from Airbus, Embraer remained its own company, and thanks to this, it appears that the Millennium got a renewed focus, which has made it into an export success. It is also worth mentioning the Ukrainian company Antonov here, even though Ukraine is currently embroiled in a war. It had some real promising projects going as the war started, like the AN-178. Ukraine had already secured several orders as Russia invaded, but I expect that the Ukrainian air industry will be up and running again as soon as the war is over. And who can forget the legendary Antonov Mirya? For people like myself who served in Afghanistan, I think it is safe to say that this iconic plane, which holds the record for both size and carrying load, holds a special place in our hearts due to the immense job it did for us when evacuating our gear as we were withdrawing. Sadly, it was destroyed when Russia attempted to take Kyiv airport, along with many of Antonov's prototypes, but there is a movement going who aims to try to restore this once legendary aircraft. Next, it would be natural of me to go down a weight class with air cargo capability, but to be perfectly frank, most European air forces have completely retired their American variants in this class and replaced them with either Canadian or European variants. Spain and Italy have retired their 707s and replaced them with Airbus variants. France has retired their Strato tankers and replaced them with the A330, and the story is similar right across the continent. If Donald Trump plans to bring jobs back to the US, he should probably have a think about what has gone so horribly wrong at Boeing. Because Bombardier, Airbus, and Embraer is absolutely owning almost every bid for both civilian and military aviation over the company, which used to equip most air forces in the world. So, let's change gears and move over to an area where Europe is likely the world's leader, namely heavy trucks and road logistics. The brands and heritage in Europe in this department is massive. Scania, RMMV, Iveco, Renault, MAN, Volvo, Sisu, Jelz, Tatra, you name it. For the purposes of this video, we'll focus on 4 variants that are the largest export successes recently, or else there'd be an entire video on military trucks which would probably not interest everyone. Overall, due to Europe's interconnectivity, European NATO members have somewhere between 15 and 20,000 heavy military trucks in their inventories, which makes Europe the largest market for military trucks worldwide. With this demand, there is also enormous competition. Some companies specialize in heavy armored trucks, like Scania, Iveco, MAN, and Sisu, while others specialize in off-road capability, like Tatra, Arquus, and Volvo. To my Swedish friend's chagrin, I'm going to start this category by picking a truck from Europe's motorway engine, Germany. Rheinmetall and MAN started working together in the early 2000s and have since been a massive producer of heavy military trucks. They were among the first to deliver drone cages on their trucks back in 2018 and have gone from strength to strength, delivering vehicles to, among others, the British, German, Danish, Norwegian, Finnish, Swedish, Hungarian, Canadian and Australian armed forces. It is a favorite among many nations for using as a base for Patriot anti-air systems or artillery platforms, and they've currently got somewhere along the lines of orders for at least 10,000 trucks on their books for, among others, the German army. Second on this list, I'm going to put the Tatra family of trucks. Why, you may ask? I've put this here as Tatra is likely the chassis which is used the most in Europe to fit weapon systems, armored cabs, and rocket artillery. Tatra is the base for, among others, the Caesar, Atmos, Neptune, Dita, Susanna, Pulse, and the new Ukrainian Bogdana guns. While it is not made to the same extent as all the others that I'll mention here, Tatra has become a weapons platform chassis specialist and will likely feature heavily in the rearmament of Europe. Now, before the Swedes come after me with that stinky fish they're so famous for, let's talk about Volvo and Scania's wildly popular military trucks. Firstly, Volvo's range is diverse, and they've delivered their military trucks to at least 7 different European militaries throughout the last 30 years. Their new FMX series has been widely ordered in, for example, the Baltics and the Nordics. Scania, on the other hand, is pumping out trucks for many militaries in Europe, with the Scania XT series being selected by, among others, the Irish, Dutch, Belgian and Swedish Army. I could go on in this category for days, but we've got other things to talk about too, and this isn't a truck convention. I'll throw in the much-acclaimed Arquus line of trucks made by the old Renault consortium, as well as the Italian juggernaut Iveco, as very credible and widely exported models of military trucks. The ongoing conflict in Ukraine has underscored the pivotal role of railway infrastructure in modern warfare, serving as a lifeline for logistical support and troop movements. Europe's extensive and densely connected rail network emerges as a significant strategic advantage in the context of potential conflicts, particularly in a potential land war against Russia. The efficiency and speed with which supplies and reinforcements can be moved across vast distances highlight the intrinsic value of rail in maintaining a robust defense posture. This has been evident in Ukraine, where railways have been crucial for transporting everything from military equipment to humanitarian aid swiftly across the country, keeping the front lines supplied and operational despite ongoing hostilities. Now, you may say that trains are easy to sabotage, but even in a country like Ukraine, where Russia is attempting to bomb the rail network daily, it has been surprisingly easy to keep the trains running. While Russia might be able to sabotage or take out parts of a train track, Europe is so densely packed with rail lines leading into the Baltics, Poland and the other border nations of NATO that trains would just find alternate routes. Europe boasts one of the world's most comprehensive rail networks, with thousands of trains operating daily across the continent. In a 2019 survey, the European Union estimated that European NATO members possess somewhere along the lines of 20,000 locomotives and at least 60,000 rail cars. This network not only supports civilian transit, but also offers a robust framework for rapid military mobilization and logistics. In the event of a conflict, European nations could leverage this existing infrastructure to expedite the movement of troops and equipment, thus enhancing their response capabilities. The density of the European rail grid, with its widespread coverage and high degree of connectivity, provides a logistical edge by enabling multiple routes and redundant pathways for transport, reducing the risk of disruption by enemy actions. NATO estimates suggest that a British soldier could be moved to the front in, for example, Poland in less than 24 hours via rail through the Eurotunnel, which reduces the dependency on both naval and air movement massively, and makes for a very effective movement of troops, and almost all nations in Europe would get there via rail in much less time than that. Last but not least, let's discuss Europe's naval transport capacity. Nations like the Netherlands, UK, France, Italy and Spain have excellent amphibious naval capability which could, with a bit more time than rail and air, move large army elements close to a potential front line in, for example, Norway, Finland, the Baltics and Poland. Take France and Italy's landing helicopter docks, in example, which has a capacity to carry 16 helicopters, 4 landing craft, 70 military vehicles including 13 tanks, and 500 soldiers in one turnaround. Spain's LHD can carry similar numbers. Overall, European NATO members operate 14 so-called amphibious landing docks, or large amphibious transport vessels, which in total can carry hundreds of tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, and artillery pieces. The strength of many of these ships is that they are designed to operate without harbor facilities, meaning that they can move their equipment on land in almost any location. The Joint Expeditionary Force, an alliance consisting of many northern European nations, which we've discussed before on this channel, often trains for this exact scenario with British and Dutch amphibious landing vessels training for this eventuality in Norway once a year. Over the coming weeks, we're going to start a new series on this channel where we'll look ahead to what sort of new innovation European, Canadian, and Australian defense sectors are coming up with, which will push the disentanglement from the US defense industry even further. And if you want to watch any of the previous episodes in this series, which is nearing 2.5 million views, I'll leave a link to the playlist in the description and comments. In summary, while Europe may not match America's heavy airlift capabilities, it excels significantly in rail and road transport infrastructure. European armed forces maintain a vast fleet of trucks, supported by an impressive tally of 20,000 locomotives poised to swiftly deliver troops and equipment to any front line within the continent. Additionally, Europe's naval capabilities are robust, particularly in relocating large volumes of military equipment, a strength further bolstered by the formidable civil freight sectors of Denmark, Norway, Britain, Germany, and the Netherlands. This integrated network ensures Europe remains a formidable player in global military logistics. As always, we hope you enjoyed this video and have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Stay safe.